everyone, my name is Leanne and today I'm going to be sharing with you 5 things that I would do differently if I went back to university. Now this is kind of just like a thought experiment because obviously, you know, if I did one thing even the tiniest bit differently, my life would probably be so much different than it is now, and there's no way of figuring out what that would be like, what that impact would be. But I thought this would just be a fun way of sharing some of my thoughts on going to university. If some of you guys are thinking of doing a degree, then you might want to bear some of these things in mind. For full context, I did my undergraduate degree at Aberystwyth University. In fact, that's my first bit of advice. Whatever university you're considering going to, forget it and just go to Aberystwyth instead. I am so proud to be an Aberystwyth University graduate, but I am now doing my postgrad at Derby University, so I guess I did kind of go back to university and I could have done things differently, but I think the advice or things that I'm going to say that I would change are things that are particularly applicable if you are doing an undergrad degree, so you're going to be there for 3 or 4 years, you know, a much more substantial amount of time. Anyways, on to the first thing that I would do differently. Break up with your boyfriend, 'cause he's shit. The first thing that I would do differently is break up with my boyfriend. And I think if you are going off to university, it is seriously worth considering breaking up with your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever terminology you use for your significant other. I think you should get rid. And like, hear me out here, because when I was 18 and I was going off to university and everyone gave me like a similar bit of advice, I was like, no way, we are so different, we are meant to be together, we're not going to be like all of these weak couples that break up at university. I know one couple who have survived the entirety of university without breaking up, and that's out of quite a lot of couples who tried. Now, I will say, in my case, my ex-boyfriend was trash, but I think even if your significant other is pretty pleasant, I think it's worth considering ending your relationship, because when you go off to university, you are meeting so many more people, you are faced with so many opportunities, and I don't mean like opportunities to get with other people, although I guess that is a factor, but I just mean like socializing opportunities and maybe like career opportunities, just events. And I think when you have to consider another person when deciding whether you're going to say yes to doing something or not, it really limits you and restricts you. Whether you have gone to different universities and you're doing long distance, or you're going to the same university, that other person is going to be a factor. You are going to be thinking, should I go out for this meal with my course mates, or should I go home to my partner? Should I go to this extra seminar, or should I go hang out with my boyfriend for a few hours? And to be perfectly blunt, it is more fun to be single at university. It just is. I think being in a relationship when you go to university just really limits how much you are going to want to socialize and build new relationships. You're not going to feel the need to make friends as much because you have that support network that you can rely on. I ignored every piece of advice I was given like this before I went to university because I was so convinced that we were different. But I did have that niggly thought in the back of my head, like, should we break up now that we're going to university? And I think if you've got even the tiniest bit of that thought in the back of your head, I don't think you'd regret ending the relationship. My second thing that I would do differently is that I would get involved with clubs and societies a lot earlier and a lot more. In my second year of university, I was on a committee, but I don't think I really poured all of my energy into it. And then in my third year of university, I really did. I think that experience as being part of a really active society committee, it was one of the most fulfilling and rewarding and beneficial parts of me being at university. And I think if I could do it all over again, I would get involved with those societies a lot more and a lot sooner. It would have enabled me to meet a lot more people, and it would have given me more opportunities to do work within those societies that I was really proud of. And I think really significantly, if I could go back, I would definitely join a sports team, because that's not something I did during my undergrad, and I really regret it. I was one of those kids, and I think this particularly affects a lot of young women who kind of fell out of sport when they were a teenager. And I think when I went to university, that would have been the perfect opportunity to get into playing football again. And I honestly really regret not doing that. So I think at the very least, you should go and try out a sport. If it's one that you want to get back into, if it's one that you're just curious about playing, I think going to university is the best opportunity for something like that. The third thing that I would do differently is I would care so much less about my grades. And, you know, hear me out here again. I put so much pressure on myself when it came to grades, to the point where it was really detrimental to my mental health. I saw anything less than a first as a failure, and that's such an unproductive and unhealthy way of thinking. I took grades that I wasn't happy with so personally, like I really took them as a personal attack, and that's ridiculous, and that made me less equipped to apply the constructive feedback that I had. I defined so much of my sense of self based on my grades, and when I thought that I wasn't going to get a first, it was literally like my heart was shattering. Luckily, I did manage to achieve that grade overall, but honestly, it didn't really matter that much. Like, it mattered intensely to me at the time, but now that I'm doing a master's, I honestly don't think my life would be any different whether I got a first or a 2-1. Getting a 2-1 wouldn't have inhibited me from doing anything that I've done now. It wouldn't have stopped me from getting onto my master's course. No one has ever asked me what I got in my degree. And I'm not saying you shouldn't strive towards ambitious goals, but if those goals are having a negative effect on your mental health, then I think you need to reshuffle and reprioritize. It took a lot of adjustment for me to realize that I wasn't the kind of person that was going to go into academia. And even if I had wanted to go into academia, not getting a first doesn't prevent you from doing that in the slightest. Basically, I just wish I had chilled out and enjoyed myself a little bit more. The fourth thing I would do differently if I could go back and do my undergraduate degree again is that I would take greater advantage of my summers. You have so much time off for university, like it is ridiculous. Like I had so much time off and I didn't use it wisely at all. Really, I should have got like a job over the summer and like got some money together, which would have enabled me to like go on adventures, even like little weekends away. Could have visited more places, especially since I was living in such a beautiful part of the world. I lived in Wales for 4 years and I did so little exploring of like the wealth of beauty that there is there. I spent so much of my summers sat around not really doing anything, and you know, I do think being in a relationship feeds into that as well. You don't feel as lazy laying around doing nothing when there's someone next to you doing the same thing. I think ultimately what all of these bits of advice or things I would do differently come down to is that I would use my time better. Your life is never going to be the same way as it is when you are a student, and you need to take advantage of that lifestyle. And the final fifth thing that I would do differently is that I would take more pictures. I have so few photographs of me and my university friends, like so few, and it's really sad. Like most of the photos I have are from like kind of like formal situations, so sort of like end of year meals or Christmas meals. I have so few photos of us just kind of like chilling. And now that my university friends and I are living in such different places doing different things, it would be so nice if there were more photographs of us together. And I really wish that I had more photographs that I'd taken of us, like even just like crappy selfies. I really wish that there were more of them. And I know it's quite popular now to say like, oh, you should live in the moment, don't get your phone out, just enjoy it. And I do think there's something worth listening to in that, but I don't think that when I'm older I'm ever going to regret having so many pictures of me and my friends. Like, I don't think that's something that I would ever regret. Like, you don't need to be posting them everywhere, but you can just have them, and that's really, really nice. So there we have it. They are 5 things that I would do differently if I could go back to university. Let me know down in the comments if there's anything that you would do differently to your experience at uni. If you are someone who's going off to university soon or thinking about it, what universities are you thinking about going to? You win my respect if you are picking Aberystwyth University. I highly recommend you do. If you are new to this channel, I normally make, as you can probably guess, videos about books, and if you check the description box there is a link to the book depository that do free worldwide shipping on basically most books. So if you are going off to university and you're thinking about getting some of your set text, some of your reading list, I could recommend you use that link, although I would also recommend you check out your local independent bookstore. But if you do use the link in the description, I receive a very small commission from any sale done through that link, which is really nice. It's like at no extra cost to you. You can help buy me a coffee. Anyways, that's all I'm going to talk about today. I hope you guys are doing well, and I will talk to you in my next video.